Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to 90 Day Fiancé latest news. It was a peaceful night, one of those times when the city is asleep and the traffic is light, yet you can still feel it in the air. The streets of Atlanta sparkled from a light shower, and the air smelled like summer rain on warm concrete. It was a calm, almost idyllic night, the kind you don't remember until something goes wrong. Chantel Everett was in the passenger seat of a black SUV that was going barely over the speed limit. She was leaning her head on the window. She had just ended a long shift at the clinic. She was tired but calm, and her mind was racing through a cloud of chart notes, unanswered texts, and the never-ending stream of half-done to-do lists that seemed to define her life. The soothing sound of tires on wet asphalt in the background was continuous and repetitive, like a lullaby. And then a scream. A flash of headlights. A flash of white-hot force. Time didn't just stop, it broke. The world whirled to the side as metal bent and glass shattered into sparkling pieces that looked like small stars in the streetlights. The force was beyond belief. The accident was so powerful that Chantel's body jerked forward and then back. She heard a horrible crunch that sounded like something deep and structural breaking. Her arm, her ribs, her breathing. Then there was stillness. Not the sort that makes you feel better, but the kind that makes you feel bad. The kind that makes your ears ring after a scream. She woke up to a world that was broken. There were a lot of cracks in the glass, and the dashboard was pushed in. The rain had started to come down harder now, coming in through the broken glass and making her skin cold. She couldn't move. Her left arm was bent at an odd angle and cradled awkwardly across her chest. It hurt to breathe. She was in so much pain that it hurt all over her body. It wasn't sharp, but it was deep and all-consuming, like it was in her bones. She didn't cry. Not yet. That couldn't happen. Next came the red and blue lights, which swirled through the rain like a warning. Siren sounds. Yells. The sound of tools breaking open doors with a metallic clang. Hands reached in, and voices were calm but urgent. "Can you hear me? Don't leave me, sweetheart. You're going to be fine." She nodded weakly, unable to say anything. She had a dry mouth. She couldn't see clearly. They took her out of the debris like she was porcelain. Everything was far away and hazy. She saw her phone on the ground with a smashed screen, and missed calls still coming in. After that, the stretcher. The straps. The last bang of the ambulance doors shutting. And at that time, when she was alone, lonely, and scared, Chantel understood how rapidly life might change. Not with a fight, not with a betrayal, but only for a violent second. There were a lot of flashing lights and moving people in the emergency department. Nurses, orderlies, and doctors all moved around like they were in a dance of haste. They put in IVs. They ordered scans. People asked questions and got half answers. Chantel laid calm through it all. Her arm was now stuck, her side was securely covered in gauze, and her mind was attempting to catch up to her body. The doctor, who had sympathetic eyes and a worn face, conveyed the news in a gentle but forceful way. "Your left humerus is broken. You have a lot of bruises on your ribcage and lower back. Thank God there is no blood inside. You will need to stay here for monitoring. The good news is that you will get better. But it will take time." Time. She loathed that word. Hours later, her family showed up. Karen was the first to walk in, and her heels made a loud noise in the corridor. Her face was wet with tears, and her voice was piercing with rage and terror. She wanted to examine the paperwork, talk to the doctor, and find out why her kid hadn't been moved to a private room. But when she saw Chantel laying there, pallid, injured, and quiet, she lost it. No show. Not a fire. Just a mother, coming apart next to her child. Winter came shortly after, with puffy eyes and a heart in her throat. She didn't say anything. She just sat next to the bed and grasped her sister's hand, clutching it like it was a lifeline. Thomas even came. He came in without making a sound. He stood at the foot of the bed for a long time with his arms crossed and his eyes down. His voice was quieter than she'd ever heard it when he finally spoke. "You scared the hell out of us." Chantel nodded, her throat tight. She wanted to say something, maybe make a joke or calm everyone down. But the truth was hard for her to take. She wasn't okay. Not yet. And maybe for the first time in her life, it was okay to say that. The days ran together in a haze of drugs and waves of pain. Almost right away, physical therapy started. Just sitting up made her side hurt. Her arm hurt and throbbed all the time. It was almost impossible to sleep. Nurses came and went, checking her vital signs, moving her pillows, and attempting to help her get better. But it wasn't just her physique that required fixing. Her mind kept going back to the accident. The lights. The effect. The fear. She saw it all again, every time she closed her eyes. She had gotten through public heartache, divorce, and betrayal. Now she was fighting something else, how fragile life is. She began to write. It was the only thing that made sense. Pages filled up slowly with filthy, sad, and beautiful thoughts about everything she had been through. She wrote about Pedro, about the marriage that fell apart one thread at a time, about the girl she used to be and the woman she was currently becoming, about how loss came in waves, some of which were loud and violent and others that were quiet and motionless. And little by little, the words started to put her back together. The world didn't stop outside the hospital. The story got picked up by news outlets. Car crash injures reality star. There was a lot of sympathy and curiosity in the comments. Her phone, which used to be a buzzing source of mayhem, was now silent and hidden away in a drawer. She didn't care. There was no pressure to do well this time. No narrative to tell. No brand to keep up. Only her. Taking a breath. Getting better. There. The sessions for physical treatment got harder. They pushed her, but not too hard. She clenched her teeth and made her body do what she wanted, even though she was sweating. Every step was a fight. Bending her arm. Being able to sit up on your own. Her first steps down the hospital hallway were barefooted on the linoleum, and she was out of breath from the exertion. But she kept going, because staying alive wasn't a one-time thing. Every day, she had to make the same choice over and over. A nurse told her one night that someone had gone outside inquiring about her. A guy. Very tall. Hispanic. Be quiet. He said he didn't want to come in. He simply wanted to know whether she was okay. Chantel's heart skipped a beat. She didn't inquire what his name was. She didn't have to. Pedro didn't call. I hadn't texted. But the memory of him standing outside those doors, unsure, quiet, and observing from a distance stayed with her like a bittersweet memory. There were no happy endings like in fairy tales. No big reunions. Just knowing that there was still a thread linking them, even if they were angry, far apart, and in agony. It was weak, but it was there. But she didn't want him back. She just wanted to keep going. Weeks went by. The swelling went down. Her bruises changed color from deep purple to light yellow. Her cast stayed on, a painful reminder of the night that almost took her future. But her steps got stronger. Her chuckle came back, starting out quiet and getting louder and brighter. The people who worked at the hospital liked her. She had become a kind of fixture, a presence that, even though she was in pain, provided a weird glow to the antiseptic halls. She made jokes with her nurses. She asked about their children. She learnt the names of all the aides, techs, and anyone who pushed her wheelchair or filled her drink. That was just who she was. Chantel Everett came up, even when she was hurt or weak. Not like a star. Not as a person. But as a lady. For real. Uncooked. Not sorry to be human. The day of discharge felt like the end of the world. She stood in front of the hospital doors, bracing herself against the wind. Her arm was still bandaged tightly, and her body hurt, but her spirit had never felt stronger. Karen stood next to her, her red-rimmed eyes hidden by sunglasses. Winter stood by the car with the door open and the music ready. Thomas gave her a rare smile and quietly helped her into the seat. Chantel watched the streets go by as they drove home through the city she had lived in all her life. Each structure, corner, and light suddenly had a new meaning. This wasn't only the city where she fell in love and lost. She lived here. Things were changed when I got home. It seemed like the silence was bigger. Her bed was more comfortable. Her breathing, which was still shallow but consistent, was a sign of victory. Now she moved more slowly. She started to pay more attention to her body than she ever had before. Every pang, every move, and every sigh were messages. And she paid attention. She had rehab appointments and wrote in her recovery journal every day. Her nights were spent thinking. She didn't hurry back to social media. She didn't set up any interviews or appearances. She didn't have to explain herself this time. Because this story, this quiet, terrible, strong story was hers. And it wasn't about being famous. It was about staying alive. In the afternoons, she would often sit by the window and let the sun warm her face. She would cry for no cause at all. She sometimes giggled at how silly it all was. But most of the time, she just breathed. In, out, living. This wasn't the return she had in mind. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't in the plans. But it was true. Chantel found what she had been looking for all along in that reality. Not closure, not validation, but calm. And as the days grew into weeks and the weeks turned into months, she got stronger, not just in her muscles but also in her thoughts. In the heart, in the soul. The accident had taken something from her. But it also gave her something special, a restart. A chance to remember who she was when no one was looking. And in that silent rebirth, Chantel Everett was more than just a survivor of pain, but as a woman who was reborn in fire, made strong by stillness and ultimately free. This gossip is over. If you liked the video, then give your opinion in the comment box and stay with us by subscribing the channel. Thank you.